19th March it is, the date of Northeast SET exam. And here we are at test to help you crack this paper. I have come with 15 question answers today with lovely explanation. You will like it. You will get to know a lot of new things. And these questions are based on past year papers. Okay. So shall we begin today's first session to help you with Northeast SET exam, also called as NE SLET. Okay. Question number 1 on your screen. Listen. The statements given below are either true or false. Choose the correct answer from codes below. A. Some of the important works of William Cooper are Scenes from Provincial Life and Scenes from Married Life. Is it true? Yes, it is. B. William Golding's first published novel was Lord of the Flies of 1954. Is it true? Yes, it is. 3. Or C. In 2003, the Japan-born novelist Kazuo Ishiguro won the Nobel Prize for Literature. No. When did he win it? He won it in the year 2017. Okay. And D. In 2010, Doris May Lessing was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature. No, she received it in the year 2007. So which means A and B are true, C and D are false. So look at the codes they have given. False, false, true, true, false, false. It is option C, right? So the answer is option C. Now to help you learn better, I have put images of all these authors. Look at them here. I'll tell you a little bit about them. William Cooper, as you've seen, you can see him here. His original name is Harry Summersfield Hough. He was an English novelist who lived from the year 1910 to 2002, okay? And he wrote these two works. Which ones? Scenes from Provincial Life in the year 1950, while Scenes from Married Life in the year 1961. Now let's move to William Golding on the screen. You can see him. William Golding was a British novelist who lived from 1911 to 1993. And his first or his debut novel was The Lord of the Flies. Okay, now look at Kazuo Ishiguro. Well, Kazuo, born in 1954, is a British novelist. Although he was born in Japan, but at the age of 5, he left Japan for Britain. Okay, and he won the Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 2017. And the last author is Doris May Lessing. You can see here her on the screen. Well, she was a British Zimbabwean novelist, lived from 1919 to 2013, and she won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2007. Okay, done with question number 1. Let's move to question number 2, quotations. My poor taste compliment as to his sister, and his vulgar return tribute abuse as to my mother. Absolutely established cordial relations between us, both in the E minor and the D major, so to speak. In which Indian novel listed below does the protagonist speak in this outrageous but comic English? Okay, your options are A. Trotter Nama, B. All About H. Hatter, C. Swami and Friends, or D. Ghachar Ghochar. Ghachar Ghochar. Well, the answer is option B, All About H. Hatter, a novel by G.V. Desani, a British Indian novelist who lived from 1909 to 2000. His best work, Desani's best work, is this, All About H. Hatter, which talks about Hatter, a man who is an Anglo-Malay. So an Anglo-Malay man who searches for wisdom and enlightenment. But the truth is, this H. Hatter is the protagonist of vulgar species who's found everywhere, even in East or in West. That is Hatter, a vulgar species. Okay. So look here, he is G.V. Desani or Govindas Vishnudas Desani, and this is the cover of his novel, All About H. Hatter. Okay, introduction by Anthony Burgess. Done. Let's move on to question number 3. Arrange the following works chronologically. I'll tell you the 4 works. They are Shamila, The Rape of the Lock, Areopagitica, and Orunoko, or The History of the Royal Slave. We have to arrange them chronologically according to their dates of publication. Can you tell me? I made it easy, don't worry. The answer is B. Okay, so look here on the screen with the additional information that I provided. Areopagitica was a speech by Milton, which was published in 1644. Then comes Orunoko, or The History of the Royal Slave, which is a novel by Ephra Behn, published in 1688. Then comes The Rape of the Lock, a poem by Alexander Pope, published in 1712. And then comes Shamila, which is a novella by Henry Fielding, published in the year 1741. Okay, let's move on to question number 4. Whose work is an apology for poetry? A. P.B. Shelley, B. Philip Sidney, C. Edmund Spenser, or D. John Dryden? Tell me, an apology for poetry. This is such an easy question. अभी difficult पूछेंगे तो easy भी पूछेंगे ना. Of course, it is Philip Sidney, An Apology for Poetry, also called as The Defense of Poesy, published in 1595. You know about Philip Sidney, right? Sir Philip Sidney, who was a beloved English courtier and an Elizabethan poet who lived from 1554 to 1586. He died very young, right? Because of an infected thigh wound that he got during a battle against the Spanish. And this work of his, Apology for Poetry or Defense of Poesy, is actually his defense. He has defended the art of poetry in this work. And it is called as the first work of literary criticism in English. And this work was his answer to Stephen Gosson's work called as School of Abuse. Yes, easy. This takes us to question number 5. In which year was the poem In a Station of the Metro by Ezra Pound published in the literary magazine Poetry? Your options are A. 1917, B. 1913, C. 1916, or D. 1921. Tell me. Ezra Pound. Complete name is Ezra Weston Loomis Pound. It is option B, 1913. Abhi sabse pehle look at young Ezra Pound, old Ezra Pound. Well, he was an expatriate American poet. Expatriate matlab he did not live in America. Most of his adult life was spent in England, France, and Italy. He lived from 1885 to 1972. And a little bit about his poem, In a Station of the Metro. It's an imagist poem, which means full of imagery. And it's also considered as the first English haiku. Haiku आपको पता है ना, ये जापान की short poetry रहती है. So if the question comes, which poem is considered the first English haiku, you should tick mark In a Station of the Metro. Now, basically here, Ezra describes a metro station of Paris in the year 1912. So Ezra is looking at people's faces, okay, walking by here in the metro station. And he's thinking that all these faces can be put into poem, okay? Not with a description, but with an equation. A poem, not with a description, but an equation. So that is In a Station of the Metro. And this was published in a very famous literary magazine, Poetry, in the year 1913. Okay, let's move on to question number 6. Charles Jenks is associated with which of the following? A. New Historicism, B. Eco-criticism, C. Feminism, or D. Postmodernism? Tell me. The answer is option D, postmodernism. And look at Charles Alexander Jenks on the screen. I like his face cut. Now, he was an American cultural theorist and an architectural historian, okay? And something which will not come in the course, but I want to tell you, he was a co-founder of Maggie's Cancer Care Center. These centers are found in UK and Hong Kong, and they provide support and practical care to people who are suffering from cancer. This is such a noble cause, Charles Jenks. Now, about Jenks, you should know he became very famous in 1980s as a theorist of postmodernism with his more than 30 books, okay? And what was his lifespan? He lived from 1939 to 2019. Okay, easy. Let's move on to question number 7. Name the author of 1Q84. Your options are A. Peter Handke, B. Herta Müller, C. Haruki Murakami, or D. Georges Perec. 1Q84 is written by, the answer is option C, Haruki Murakami. Look at Haruki on the screen. Born in 1949, he's a Japanese writer. So all his works are written in Japanese language and later they are translated to other languages. Actually, his work has been translated in more than 50 languages. Okay. Now, about his novel, 1Q84. It was published as a trilogy between 2009 to 2010. The protagonist of 1Q84 is a woman called as Aomame, okay? Aomame, Aomame, who notices some strange changes happening in the world. And then she embarks on a journey to discover what is real, okay? Now, if a question comes that which novel parallels the fictional year of 1984 with the real one, you should tick mark 1Q84. Or if a question comes that tell the dystopian novel which rivals George Orwell's 1984, you should again tick mark 1Q84. Okay? And look at the cover of 1Q84 here. Good? Aage badhe. Question number 8. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments occurs in which sonnet by Shakespeare? A30, B116, C154, or D65? Say, this is actually the first line of sonnet number option B, 116. Now, sonnets were 200 years old before the time of Shakespeare. And basically, these sonnets expressed worshipful love for a goddess, you know, an unobtainable goddess or a love object. But Shakespeare changed everything. He wrote these sonnets, oh God, in which he addresses a young man or a dark lady who is not at all a goddess by any way. And third, in these sonnets, he talks of lust, misogyny, homoeroticism, infidelity, etc., etc. And about this sonnet 116, you should know, this sonnet defines love. Basically, how love never changes, never fades, and love outlasts death. Okay, that's sonnet 116 by Shakespeare, where this quote you can see, let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Okay, let's move on to question number 9. Match the following poems with their category of nature. Okay, so these are the 4 works: The Owl and the Nightingale, Lone Wall, Sir Gregory, and Love Ruin. You have to tell me which category do they belong to. Tell me. I'll directly come to the answer, okay? So the answer is option B. The Owl and the Nightingale is a debate poem, of course, where there is a debate going on between the owl and the nightingale. This debate is overheard by the narrator, right? Done, written between 12th to 13th century. Second is Lone Wall. Lone Wall is a lace by Marie de France. Marie de France kaun thi? She lived in the Middle Ages and she was a mystery woman. We don't know who she was. She just called herself Marie de France. And she wrote lays. What are lays? Lays are rhymed tales or short poetic romances which talk of chivalry and supernatural elements. Okay, and one of the lays of Marie de France is Lone Wall. Then we come to Sir Gregory. Sir Gregory is a very popular romance. Okay, so Sir Gregory is a romance, a Middle English romance basically of the 14th century. And last is Love Ruin. Love Ruin is by Thomas of Hales and it is a verse of wisdom. So basically, it is religious and didactic in nature. So the answer is option B. The Owl and the Nightingale debate, Lone Wall lays, Sir Gregory is romance, and Love Ruin is religious and didactic. Okay, easy. This takes us to question number 10. Identify the woman playwright of the 18th century among these listed below who wrote the celebrated comedy, The Busy Body. Option A, Eliza Haywood. B, Susanna Livre. C, Hannah More. Or D, Frances Sheridan. The Busy Body is written by Option B, Susanna Saint-Livre. Look at her on the screen. Susanna, you know, was an English poet and actress, and many people actually call her the most successful playwright of the 18th century. She lived from 1669 to 1723. A little bit about her work, The Busy Body. It is her restoration comedy, which was first performed in the year 1709. This feminist play, The Busy Body, focuses on first, what is marriage, and second, how children weaken their parents, how they subvert the parental power when it comes to their marriage, when it comes to the children's marriage. So that is The Busy Body, a restoration comedy by Susanna Saint-Livre for you. This takes us to question number 11. Identify the poet in whose writing the theme of war and scenes from the English countryside are blended. A. Thomas Hardy, B. Wilfred Owen, C. Edward Thomas, or D. Rupert Brooke. Do you know it? It's a little tricky question, but I'll tell you the answer is option C, Edward Thomas. Philip Edward Thomas was a British writer who lived from 1878 to 1917. He was called as a war poet, obviously, because he wrote about war, but he also wrote about nature. The best example of this kind of poetry by him is In Memoriam. So, In Memoriam by Edward Thomas exemplifies how he blended themes of war and countryside. Okay? Question number 12. Easiest question of the day. एक easy question तो बनता है. Which among the following in Chaucer's The Canterbury Tale is not written in verse? A. The Second Nun's Tale, B. The Knight's Tale, C. The Manciple's Tale, or D. The Parson's Tale? Of course, the answer is D. The Parson's Tale. It is in prose, right? And this takes us to the 13th question. Which of the following is written by Chitra Banerjee Devkaruni? A. The Glass Palace, B. The Palace of Illusions, C. The City of Palaces, or D. The Winter Palace? Do you know it? इतने palace दे दिए confuse करने के लिए. The correct answer is option B, The Palace of Illusions. Look at Chitra Banerjee on the screen. She's born in 1956, an Indian-born American author. The Palace of Illusion was her 2008 novel. You have to know this, what this novel is about. It is based on Mahabharata, and it is spoken or told from the point of view of Draupadi or Panchali, who lives in a patriarchal world. Okay, so that is The Palace of Illusion by Chitra Banerjee, and look at that beautiful peacock color cover for you, The Palace of Illusions. Right? Dev Karuni has given Draupadi a powerful voice. That is what Outlook has to say for this book. Okay? Let's move on. Question number 14. Name the author who was awarded the Booker International Prize in 2005. A. Philip Roth, B. Chinua Achebe, C. Alice Munro, or D. Ismail Kadre. Tell me, Booker International Prize in 2005 was won by option D, Ismail Kadre, the man on the screen. Little bit about the Booker International Prize. See, before 2005, this prize was called as the Man Booker Prize. Basically, it is a literary award which is hosted in the United Kingdom. From 2005, the name changed to the Booker International Prize. So the debut winner of this prize, or the first winner of this prize, was Ismail Kadre. He is born in 1936 and he's an Albanian novelist. Okay, Ismail Kadre, the first winner, okay, of the Booker International Prize in 2005. Before 2005, Booker International Prize was called as Man Booker Prize, right? Last question. Who is the author of The House of Spirits? Your options are A. Jorge Luis Borges, B. Julio Cortázar, C. Isabel Allende or Isabel Allende, and D is Roberto Bolaño. The House of the Spirits is by option C, Isabel Allende. Look at Isabel on the screen. Well, she is a writer from Chile, born in the year 1942. And her works belong to the genre of magic realism. Example is The House of the Spirits, which talk about a family called as Truba family, Trueba, Truba family. And if a question comes that the House of the Spirits was inspired by, you should, tick mark there, 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And we are done for the day. The Northeast SET exam is set to be conducted on 19th March. I hope you are becoming ready every day. Here we are to help you. I'm going to come again soon with another 15 question answers to help you with Northeast SET. This is Hina from Team Test. Bye-bye. Have a lovely evening. Take care.